Energy prices have soared since Israel attacked Iran's South Pass gas field. Iran has targeted oil and gas facilities in neighbouring countries since early in the war, and it's warned of more to come. What are the global risks of turning energy sites into battlefields? This is Inside Story. Hello and welcome to the programme. I'm Imran Khan. The war in the Middle East took a serious turn when Israel bombed Iran's energy facilities. In retaliation, Iran stepped up attacks on its Gulf neighbours, warning of zero restraint if its gas infrastructure was targeted again. The damage is significant and will take years to repair. It also has long-term consequences. Qatar has already warned of a reduction in exports. In the short term, the immediate effect was another surge in energy prices. This escalation is dangerous. Energy exports from the Gulf region account for about a fifth of global output. We'll discuss with our guest the implications of making energy facilities the front line in this war. But first, this report from Imogen Kimber.
Israel attacked Iranian infrastructure that processes gas from the world's largest natural gas reserve. Iran shares the North Dome South Pass gas field with Qatar. It was quick to retaliate, carrying out airstrikes on the oil refinery in the Israeli port city of Haifa. But it also stepped up its attacks on energy facilities in neighbouring countries. Hitting the Abdullah and Al Ahmadi port refineries in Kuwait, Ras Tanura and Yanbu refineries in Saudi Arabia, Fujairah Industrial Zone in the United Arab Emirates, and in Qatar, the world's biggest liquefied natural gas production hub, Ras Laffan. Gulf nations called for an end to the attacks.
This pressure will backfire. Will backfire politically, will backfire, I believe, morally, and certainly, as we have stated quite clearly, we have reserved the right to take military actions if deemed necessary.
This war needs to stop immediately. The aggression needs to stop immediately, because everyone knows who is the big beneficiary of the war and dragging the whole region into this conflict. Unfortunately, what is happening now is serving those agendas.
Already soaring oil and gas prices rose even further. Israel says it won't happen again.
Israel acted alone against the Sfakianakis gas compound. Fact number two, President Trump asked us to hold off on future attacks, and we're holding out.
I told them, don't do that.
The US added assurances and said it had nothing to do with the strike on Iran's gas field. However, the damage is done.
Again, we warn the enemy you made a big mistake in attacking energy infrastructure in the Islamic Republic of Iran, and our response is ongoing, and it's not over yet.
The CEO of Qatar Energy says LNG exports will drop by about 17% because of the destruction, and it will take up to 5 years to fix. Repairing relations in the region and globally may take time too. Imogen Kimber, Al Jazeera for Inside Story.
Let's bring in our guests. Joining us from Tehran is Mohsen Baharvand, former Iranian ambassador to the United Kingdom. In Cambridge, Massachusetts is Jim Walsh, a research associate in MIT's Security Studies programme. And in Riyadh is John Sfakianakis, chief economist at the Gulf Research Centre. Thank you all for joining us. I'd like to start in Tehran with Mohsen first. Mohsen, the strategy here seems to be Israel attacking crucial infrastructure and then Iran attacking back in kind, desalination plants, energy infrastructure. But how sustainable is that strategy? Because you're alienating all your Gulf allies.
Yes, I understand that really this is a very complex situation. There is no clear answer for that, but what I can tell you is that maybe attacking on the facilities is not only attacking on the country hosting the facilities. If we put ourselves in the shoes of the people here, they may see it as attacking on a kind of global economy which is unified in the world economy. As you know, Iran, maybe this is only a repetition of what always is being said, but Iran has nothing against the neighboring countries, Arab countries. But the world economy is unified. Everybody is benefiting from these unified facilities, energy flow, and flowing of energy from the Persian Gulf outside. Therefore, if you deprive one player and attack one player, attack the facilities of one player, which is Iran, maybe they will consider it logical to stop the flow of energy from all regions.
John, I want to bring that...
That's not by any means...
Sorry, Mohsen, I'm just going to put your point to... I'm going to put your point to John Sfakianakis. John, this is the strategy, right? To pressure the world economy. And this was all completely avoidable and entirely predictable. We knew that this was going to be Iran's strategy, but the US didn't seem to know or didn't care. And now it does, because now they're talking about it, right?
Well, if they knew about it, they couldn't do anything about it, meaning that somebody will be in the middle, unfortunately, because this war has to continue, and this war needs to have an end. Whether the Gulf countries are considered to be part of the global economy, the answer is yes, but also they're not supposed to be, and nobody expected that they'll be in the middle of this. And they should not be the recipients of anything that Iran responds. So if the US hits them and Iran cannot hit on the US, the justification of hitting the Gulf states and energy infrastructure of the Gulf states, when the Gulf states have not done anything, it is hosting for sure, but that is not enough to justify the response and the ferocity and the confusion that Iran has done. By the same logic, the US could continue forever pounding on Iran without any concern for life, civilian or otherwise. And that in itself is quite problematic.
I want to bring in Jim here. Jim, you're a research associate in MIT's Security Studies program. How much security is this bringing to the Gulf? It's not, right?
No. Obviously, initiating a war of choice, not a war of necessity, is going to be disruptive. And what's more, when you take a regular war and you turn it into a fight for survival, which is what the U.S. has done by declaring its goal as regime change and then unconditional surrender, what Iran hears from those terms is this is a fight for survival. So I don't think anyone should be surprised that they're hitting other states in the region. Many of these states hold U.S. bases. Like, that would be justification enough in some circumstances. But it also has to be said out loud that some of the states in the region lobbied for this war. The Washington Post has reported that the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia was advocating on the phone to Trump to initiate the war. And then after the war started, was on the phone advocating that he finish it or complete it, whatever that means. So it's not surprising that Iran doesn't want to get into a conflict where it's everyone against them, but they want to raise the cost of this to the U.S. so the U.S. doesn't come back in 6 months and we do this all over again like we did 6 months earlier. So it's really, who can take more pain here? Can the U.S. take the political pain, economic pain, or will Iran run out of drones and missiles first, or reach a threshold where their pain is too great? And that's why we're in uncertainty. We're in a dangerous period of uncertainty where this could definitely escalate if either side chooses to move in that direction.
Sorry, Jim, I'm just going to interrupt you there. I want to bring your point to Mohsen in Tehran. Mohsen, it's a very interesting point, right? What is the pain threshold here for Iran? How much pounding of their capital cities can they take, destruction of oil facilities, etc., before they have to go to the negotiating table?
The negotiating table we don't see here in Tehran any sign of the other side to be interested in diplomacy or negotiation, because negotiation table was in reach and they were sitting around it. But in the middle of negotiations, this attack was initiated. Therefore, Iran is a large country. I mean, that can merge the whole economy of the world in this conflict. I mean, I don't see an end to it, because two bad acts cannot result in a good thing. Then continuing pounding Iran cannot bring negotiation on or conciliation. The first step is to cease the hostilities, then think about any viable or sustainable peace. Otherwise, with the force, you cannot bring people to the negotiation. And even if you have a negotiation under fire, that negotiation cannot be legally binding in future. Therefore, they need to first cease the hostilities and then think about the negotiations. Right. Iran always has been ready for negotiations, but at this
Mohsen,
time,
I'm going to stop you there. Mohsen, I'm going to stop you there because
and again they attacked Iran.
Well, that's the exact point, right, Jim? Yes, there were negotiations taking place. They were taking place on the eve of the war. Now, but we talk about, appetite for destruction here, as it were. One of the key things Iran is doing is forcing global energy prices to spike. At some point, if it does, I mean, oil is already at what, 116, that kind of level. If it goes to $150 to $200, then America has to stop. And that is a new way of warfare, right? Economic warfare.
Well, I mean, we did see that partly during the oil embargo of 1973, when oil was used as a weapon in the wake of war in the Middle East. And we saw it again during the Iran-Iraq war when we had the so-called tanker war, but to more limited effect. And this is really the biggest use of oil and shutting down oil supply that we've seen in history, even larger than those previous examples. I think it's a function of two things. It's going to be a function of duration. How long does it go on? Like, let's just assume it's going on at this level, which is pretty intense for Iran, by the way, but it goes on at this level for how long? And the longer it goes on, obviously, the more intense the damage and lasting the damage. But there is a second variable here, not just duration, but intensity. And all wars have the capacity to escalate and expand, particularly wars that involve a fight for survival. I can't underline that enough. States will go to the edge in order to survive. And if you just look at Ukraine, Russia, we see, enormous destruction of the economic infrastructure there, attacking nuclear power plants, the grid, all sorts of things. So this is, this happens in wars. So if this war intensifies, you will see the nature of the destruction intensify. And then when you get into not simply shipping, but production facilities, then the impacts will linger. Oil's pretty good at sort of recovering from this or that. It's liquid, if you will. But if you go after production, that's a different thing. So I worry about this escalating because we're in a fight where one party sees it as a fight for survival.
Mohsen, that's a very good point. And it's been said that Iran is a regime, a governance system that can survive everything, all but a complete occupation. Do you think Iranians still feel that way? The Iranian establishment still feels that way?
I think we have to take the lesson from the past experience as well. I mean, first of all, the destruction which is happening is exactly what Israel wants. I mean, that inflicting destruction on a country is not a strategy. Is just an act of violence and destruction. I mean, then even if a government is completely destroyed, then you have to face a nation and a country. I mean, the experience in the past situation like Iraq, Afghanistan, and other countries as well, you cannot destruct the facilities, even the government, and then overwhelm a country. Then you face the nation, and that would drag you in an endless war, civil war, and also war of people against you. Therefore, this is not a strategy. This is just inflicting destruction as much as possible to the region. And that's what Netanyahu and Israel want. And even if I don't think Americans also want that, but they are dragged into war to make destruction to the region as much as possible. Yesterday even Netanyahu was saying that telling it was the nuclear facilities or nuclear program was not his problem. He said that understand that how powerful Iran was. And I was thinking, now we understand that we have to destruct all that facilities, defense facilities that they have. This means that you want to destroy this region in a way that nobody is going.
Sorry, Mohsen, I'm going to stop you there because you keep making a lot of points that I want to put to our guests. John in Riyadh. John, I was speaking to an oil analyst just earlier. I've spoken to several throughout the period of all of this. One of the things that kind of struck me is when he said, I don't know what the Israeli strategy is, because if the Israelis go in and destroy energy infrastructure, whether it's in Riyadh, whether it's in Qatar, whether it's anywhere else in the region, and that spikes the prices, that actually puts a lot of pressure on Donald Trump to bring the war to an end, and the Israeli strategy seems to be chaos. So do you see a Israeli strategy here that makes sense to you when it comes to these attacks?
Well, I think we need to, as you said, distinguish one from the other. I think there is a threshold, which is, oil at anything between $150 a barrel to 180, where the global economy, but also the Trump administration will be under severe pressure to relinquish and get out of the war. So I think the strategy today from Israel is to militarily continue the war, and from the US to do the same, taking into account that there is less collateral damage both from the Gulf side, but as well as everybody else. But as President Trump said, that there are certain inclusions to the thinking that this has to be dealt with. And even if we have collateral damage in terms of inflation, high oil prices, and so forth, that's a price for the world economy to pay.
Jim, it's a similar question to you. The strategy from Israel, and we've seen this in Gaza, we've seen this in Lebanon, it's to push the US further and further and further into the war, to drag them into the war. There's almost no one. And if you take Donald Trump's words at face value, he says he didn't know that they were going to attack Iranian energy infrastructure. That came as a surprise to him. That means two things, right? That means either he's lost control of communication with the Israelis, or the Israelis are going it alone, or, and this is even more scary, is that the Israelis are just doing what they do and pushing America into a war they can't control. Which one is it?
Well, it's a bit of each, but what I would underline is I think Netanyahu in particular and the Israeli government in this case, they're have always historically been inclined to push just to the edge and beyond the edge, to push them the limits beyond and into the next stage, and then sort of pay the penalty or be scolded afterwards. Now, there's different reporting around whether Israel informed the U.S. or not, but I think the basic dynamic that you're pointing to is fundamental here. Obviously, the U.S. and Israel shared a desire to punish and hurt Iran, but they have strategies that are divergent. I would say their interests are divergent, but I'm not really clear what the U.S. interest is here. It seems more based on emotion and whim than national interest. But in any case, The Israeli interest and their strategy is simply to weaken every country in the region. That's been the strategy for a while. It's what they've done in their own backyard. It's what they've done as they've moved out over these last few years, deeper and deeper into the rest of the Middle East. That's why they opposed the Iran nuclear deal, the JCPOA. You think that that would have been in their interest for Iran not to have had a nuclear weapon. But no, they were against it because their preferred strategy is to just keep to punish and to weaken the countries around them. And yes, they'll say there are short-term costs to that, but we're willing to run those costs. And I think Israel sees this as a window of opportunity. They've got a guy that they've sort of manipulated, or is it, for whatever reasons, isn't inclined to stop Israel from doing what it's doing. And they see this as a chance, and they're taking it, and they're going to push on this as hard as they can until they're told to stop. And their general objective will be just destroying the infrastructure and capacity of Iran, thinking that that pushes everything off into the future. It's another version of that terrible phrase I hate, but mowing the lawn. They just think that it's the tactic, not the strategy. It's just continually degrade the capability of everyone in the region.
Now, there is a twist in the tale here. I just want to read out some words from Scott Bessent, who is the Energy Secretary of the US. He said this: "In the coming days, we may unsanction the Iranian oil that's on the water. It's about 140 million barrels." Mohsen, to your point, the energy infrastructure war, these words show you that the Americans are now so desperate that they are willing to put money not effectively in Iran's pocket because of the other sanctions, but this is a twist that we didn't see coming. Your strategy of global economic chaos, do you think that is, Scott Bessent's words are, proof that that's working?
He says that or not, that amount of oil is out of region and is reaching to its destination. That's just, first of all, a kind of rhetoric. But let me tell you something personally. Okay, if he's serious, then let's remove the sanction and embargo on the Iranian oil sector, and also facilitate the flowing of oil from the Strait of Hormuz, and seize the cessation if they are really serious on that. I personally think that can be a point of initiation to remove sanctions, embargo on the Iranian oil, and Iranians also secure the Strait of Hormuz for the ships coming and going out of the Strait of Hormuz. But I don't think the Americans saying that are serious, or they are signaling a kind of reconciliation.
That's
in
a
this
good
case,
point. That's a good point. I want to put that to John in Riyadh. John, this is war makes very strange bedfellows, right? You've got Russia being unsanctioned. This was not seen. We've got this quote from Scott Bessent. This just goes to show that there's panic. And where is that panic coming from? Is it coming from the oil-producing nations and putting pressure on the US? Is this within the US, do you think?
I think that the world has less available oil. The supply has been taken out. No doubt the closure of the straits due to Iran's decision has taken out a lot of oil, which is between 20 to 25%, which is between 12 to 16 billion barrels a day. So that oil is not readily available, and not readily available in all the geographies and grades of oil. So somebody has to find it, and the US had to take action, as well as the IEA, the G7 countries, to release oil and to make, as you say, Russian oil readily available. So the importance of the Gulf has just been realized as a result of this crisis, because before we were talking about decarbonizing and moving into other sources of energy, green technology, and so forth. But right now, oil is going up because the straits are closed due to, again, Iranian action, not because of American action. So that has to be addressed. Having said that, Iranian oil shipped to China is still able to go through, as well as liquid petroleum gas to India. And that is important to note. But yes, to your question, Scott Besson's comment is trying to alleviate the upward pressure. My issue is that none of this will help, and oil is going to continue to spike. We're going to see oil at 150, if not more.
Jim, I want to talk about energy diplomacy here, because this is, the crucial point. Iran, and Mohsen has said this very eloquently, they were in negotiations. They were there at the table. There was a deal that was already there. It just needed, to be reshaped for the modern day. It was signed in 2015, the so-called Iran nuclear deal. No one now can trust the Americans. And that's hit home with the Gulf countries, because they are being attacked, and they thought having an American air cover, American air bases would insulate them. It hasn't. So America's lost all credibility in the world. Do you think that's right?
Well, I think people tend to overemphasize the importance of credibility. Credibility is one element that goes into how governments make judgments about what to do. Power matters. Like if you're the most powerful country in the world and you're a little tiny country, then even if the big country doesn't have a ton of credibility, they're still really powerful, and you have to take that into account. There are other things that matter too, but does this make it harder to go to the negotiating table? Yeah, it does. But I will say that they were at the negotiating table in June, and then Iran got bombed, and they were again in January. And that tells me that even if you don't trust the other side, sometimes you have to negotiate and see if there is a way out of the dangers that you face, whether you like or trust the other side or not. And as it relates to this war is not going on forever. It's not, right? At some point, it's going to end. And if it ends, that's probably going to mean a negotiation. So we're going to get one. It'll just be, is it closer to somehow settling this up? Because we're facing a very disruptive future in the Middle East. I mean, once this is over, think how everyone's going to be thinking about one another. All the different countries. So this
Thanks, Jim.
Good
We have run out of time, and I want to thank all our guests, Mohsen Baharvand, Jim Walsh and John Sfakianakis, and thank you too for watching. Now, you can see the programme again anytime by visiting our website, aljazeera.com, and further discussion, let's go to our Facebook page. That's facebook.com/AJ Inside Story. And you can also join the conversation on X. Our handle is @AJ Inside Story. From me, Imran Khan, and the whole team here, bye for now.